Claire, the lying woman, the deceiver. She won't escape the consequences this time. I'm angry as hell, and even angrier at myself. Because I'm so easily deceived. And trusted others. What I need is proof that there's no way she's getting half of the house. It rightfully belongs to me. I get so annoyed at people who take advantage of kindness and trust. Everything will be different now. I met Claire when I was in college. At that time, I'm studying electrical engineering and aeronautics. And she's studying psychology and social studies. We met at a party. I was struggling with depression and guilt at the time. My grandmother recently passed away, and it's weighing heavily on my mind. Especially considering how little I've visited her over the past few years. Because I'm consumed by the busy life of a young college student. Nevertheless, in her will, she left me the modest but adequate house, because my parents don't need it. The house is filled with fond memories of my grandmother and grandfather when they were alive. During my childhood, I used to visit my grandmother and keep her company. After the death of his grandfather, as I grew older, I gradually took on more responsibility for household chores, even in the midst of the distractions of childhood play, I always make time for her. Back to the house after her funeral. I found my Airfix BF-109 fighter kit that I assembled 15 years ago. My first model airplane is still in perfect condition. While I can't change the frequency of past visits, but the sight stirred feelings of guilt and sadness in me. Claire and I were passing each other on campus. She has an attractive demeanor that, whenever we meet, we nod and smile. At a party, she noticed my melancholy mood. And trying to lift my spirits. This succeeded to some extent. I expressed my gratitude that I invited her for a drink the next day. That carried over into dinner. Even though it's just fish and chips. In 6 weeks, our relationship developed into an intimate. It was satisfying for both of us. Despite our shared college experiences and our respective romantic encounters, we never talked about it. One morning, when I woke up in bed, I find Claire smiling and looking down at me. One elbow propped up. After giving me a kiss on the cheek, she mentioned preparing tea. And then put on one of my pajamas. From the end of the bed. When I met her gaze, I wondered, is there a hint of affection or love in her eyes? I'm developing emotions for her. There's no need to beat around the bush. I need to face her. I'm going downstairs. Last night's adventure left me hungry. I prepared a bacon sandwich for her. Prepare yourself a bacon and egg sandwich. As she sat across from me, she seemed to be deep in thought and distracted. I held out my hand to her, and she looked at me with a smile that seized the moment. I confess, my dear, there's something important I need to tell you. I'm starting to develop strong feelings for you. Her reaction was unexpected. She jumped up, came around the table and sat on my lap and it's a little uncomfortable. Because she's not wearing underwear. I wasn't exactly aroused, but I wasn't exactly soft either. She cupped my face in her hands and kissed me passionately. Thank goodness. I love you, too. I was just trying to figure out how to tell you, so as not to scare you off. Even though I didn't explicitly mention love, I let it pass. So does that mean we're exclusive now? I inquired, noting our respective backgrounds. I've been exclusive ever since we met at that party. She replied that I could not make the same statement that. But I've been committed to it since we were first intimate. In 2 weeks. She moved into my tiny apartment. We try to focus on learning that. Live together, stay together. I fell deeply, passionately in love with her. The future presents some dilemmas. I have a job waiting for me back home. At my dad's company. I have my grandmother's old house to live in. Claire's hometown is 70 miles away. Back at her parents' house. She quickly landed a job with a prestigious insurance company. The company has branches nationwide. We take turns spending weekends on the M4. Familiar with every pothole along the way. And then the opportunity presented itself. The assistant manager of her company announced her retirement in my town. Upon learning of our contact, her company set up an interview for her. She did so well that she was offered the position of. She accepted. So Claire will be moving to my hometown in about 3 months. The timing was perfect, because I'd already asked her to marry me. We're planning a wedding at our local church in May. Decorated with blooming cherry trees. Casting natural confetti. Everything looked idyllic until I realized something. Claire's birthday is on Friday. I plan to visit her. Took a day off. I went to her place Thursday night with a surprise. With a dozen roses in her hand. Arriving at her apartment, I noticed that her car was parked in its usual spot, but the apartment was dark. I went in there and there was no sign of her. Maybe she's out running errands. I put the roses in a vase, made a cup of tea but half an hour later Claire hadn't returned. I checked the location of her cell phone. Found her in a neighborhood bar. It's not a place we go to very often. Because it's usually very loud and there are a lot of young people. I was gonna call her. But that would spoil the surprise. I went to the bar and there was a lot of noise there. I didn't see her at first. But suddenly a movement caught my attention. There she is. Arms around the neck of a man I knew somewhat well. His hand was bandaged and they were deep in a passionate kiss. Reminds me of the way she used to kiss me. I'm feeling crushed. Without hesitation, I took out my cell phone. Sneak in a few pics. A girl near the bar noticed and rushed to Claire. I didn't stick around to see how she'd react. Instead, he turned and left the bar. When I got back to Claire's apartment, I knew I had to start packing. Sent her a picture of the guilty party. And a text message. I wrote, "I'll pack my stuff so you can make room for him. You know where to send your engagement ring." I went back to her apartment. Because I don't have a suitcase. I took a black plastic bag. Started putting my clothes in. While I was in the bathroom organizing my stuff, Claire burst in. The man who brought her together. "Well, this should be fun, honey. It's not what it looks like to you. We were just kissing. We were just kissing. Nothing more, pardon us, just kissing. Fuck off, and fuck off a little further. You're standing there claiming nothing happened. However, you brought him here to flaunt it in front of me. It's over between us. Who else knew you were cheating on me behind my back? I saw that girl rushing towards you. So she must have known about your crime. I'm leaving. We just kissed, nothing more. When you wrap your arms around his neck and kiss. I know what kissing leads to, remember? Have you already slept with him?" "No, I wouldn't betray you like that." She maintains eye contact with me. "So you're practicing for me?" There was sarcasm in my voice. "No, my love, I wouldn't do that." She continued to gaze into my eyes and then I noticed his hand. "So it's just masturbation." Because he hurt his hand. "You're the cause of the damage, aren't you?" She nodded slowly in response, and so it's manual work today. Next week you'll be working with his mouth and his tools. After a week you'll be dragging him to bed. If I remember correctly, that was the plan. By the way, in case you haven't noticed, he prefers his left hand. It'll be a great opportunity for him to learn to work with his hands. I guess. He doesn't need to practice with his left hand, now. Because he will have you. Right? I'm headed for the door. And then he interjects. "I'm sorry, man, nothing inappropriate happened. Trust me, we were just kissing. A friendly kiss." She apologized for the incident. He pointed to his bandaged hand and She accidentally caught it in the door last week. Broke some bones. She's just making up for it. You don't make up for it by exchanging spit and toms. Like what I saw and how many times she made you happy. There's more going on there. I don't know you. So I don't trust you. And then he did something unexpected. He pulled out his cell phone, unlocked it, and handed it to me. Only once did I despair. Look, man, my phone is totally open. Feel free to read anything. SMS, email, Instagram, Twitter. You can't find any contact with her. There's some information related to her work. Because she works for me. But check them. I did as I was told and found nothing suspicious. There is no suggestive message that. Only her apology. And some work-related conversations. They seem to have met a few times at work, not alone, but. I still can't shake the discomfort of that kiss. Why didn't she mention that? Did she hurt somebody's hand on the door? I looked at her. Will you extend me the same courtesy? Hand over your cell phone. Let me see what's on it. She complied, silently. Her password was already familiar to me, as mine was to her. I'm sure there are no secrets between us. I turned around and went through her messages and email and social media. Except for a few instances similar to what I found on his cell phone. Nothing out of the ordinary. Except that she makes this man happy. This is unacceptable to me. Then I executed a cunning strategy that changed the password on her cell phone. I dialed my number on my cell phone. My cell phone rang in response to. I took it out of my pocket. I hung up and put her cell phone on the table and, looking at the two of them, I'm beginning to suspect that nothing happened other than masturbation. But I have no intention of staying. I need time to process this. Hand over the engagement ring. I'll keep it for 2 weeks. Decide if it goes back to your finger or back to the jeweler. She tearfully removed the ring and handed it to me. Now get out of the way. I left outside. I turned up the volume on my cell phone. Eavesdrop on their conversation. I'm sorry, Claire. He apologized. I didn't mean to cause you any trouble. I care about you. I never intended to hurt you. But when I mentioned my problem, when you offered help, I thought you were joking about masturbation. If I knew you were serious, I won't take it. It was a stupid mistake, she retorted, and especially when everyone at the bar is watching. If Shelley doesn't see Michael taking pictures. And warned me. I'm not checking my cell phone. Who knows, maybe we were too impulsive. Honestly, Claire, if you offered more, I would agree. She exploded in anger and. Fuck off. Take your hand and get out of here. You've destroyed my marriage. We haven't even gotten that far. You're messing with my life. Now. You offered to take Michael's place. You're being insensitive. I don't think there's anything wrong with your hands. I think you're just pretending, so go away. That's enough for me. I heard the door slam shut and all that was left was the sound of Claire's sobs. I hung up. Nothing actually happened. But I have a feeling it might escalate. The real question is, I still love her deeply. Can I forgive her? Will that kiss lead to more? He implied that it might. Though Claire stopped him. I'm not sure what the next step should be. Perhaps it would be wise to seek the advice of others that my parents would be good choices. Not realizing that I'm already halfway home from my drive, I decided to stop at a highway service station. Called my mom and dad to explain the situation. I told them the wedding was canceled. Although fortunately, we haven't made any significant payments yet. Because the wedding is months away. They suggested I come over for tea the next day. Further discussing the matter. And remind me to notify Claire's parents. They are also very nice people. realizing that this isn't something to be handled via text message. I immediately called Claire's parents, even though they were too far away to visit. Because I'm halfway home. They were shocked and initially skeptical. Until I sent a photo as evidence. Claire's father urged me to think long and hard before making any hasty decisions. I told him I was canceling the wedding for now. In the meantime, I'm considering my options. Explain. Seeing her with another man hurt me deeply. Forgiveness takes time. Claire's mom stated that she was going to question Claire on the phone. But I cautioned that contacting her might be difficult. And with that I ended the conversation. Back home. I went straight to bed. Surprisingly, I found myself sleeping well. Probably because of physical and mental exhaustion. I had tea with my parents the next day. Having engaged in an in-depth dialogue. But no conclusions were drawn. My dad and I had too much to drink, causing me to spend the night in a cold room. The morning brought a familiar and comforting breakfast that. It was prepared by Mom. Despite the routine, I'm still hesitant. I finally decided to call off the wedding. Driven by the haunting image of her embracing another man. I decided to throw myself into the work. Determined to take care of chores this upcoming weekend. These tasks were neglected by me during all the traveling. And then at noon on Saturday, the doorbell rang. Claire's parents showed up with Claire herself. I let them in. I paused briefly to. And then closed the door in Claire's face. Only to reopen the door a few moments later to find her crying. I need her to understand that it won't be easy. Her parents conveyed her apologies. Insist that it was a mistake that should never have happened. Claire expresses remorse, says Michael. I deeply regret my behavior. It was a mistake. I confessed everything to my parents. Admitted my stupidity. Is there any way to fix this mistake? Either that or a kiss. Either that or unintentionally masturbating to a strange man. Her mother's expression became sad and suggesting that she was previously unaware of Claire's behavior. When I looked at her father, he wasn't surprised that. He knows. I excused myself and retreated to the kitchen. Let them have privacy. From there, I heard Claire's mother express her displeasure. I made coffee for them and tea for myself. Know that they like coffee. We've been having this conversation for a while now. However, no progress has been made. I expressed my anguish over her embracing someone else. And the uncertainty of intimacy with another human being. I admit I'm not sure how I'm going to get over it. And then Claire took action. She knelt down in front of me and said, I apologize, my love. I acted stupid and won't make that mistake again. I have considered the consequences of my actions. From now on, please forgive me. Although I can't say for sure what might have happened. But it's clear. She had no intention of becoming intimate with the man that. From our phone conversation. She admitted her mistake. While I'm inclined to forgive her. But our wedding plans are still on hold. I have a few more inquiries. Who else knows about your involvement with this man? Only my parents. Dean and a few coworkers who witnessed it. I've told Dean in no uncertain terms. If he ever mentions it again or comes near me, I'll break his other arm. She replied. It caused her mother's displeasure. So it seems. Half the office knows about us. I commented that no. Only a few people know that. They assured me they wouldn't spread the word. By the way, I'm moving to another office soon. So I will stay away from them, she explained. Do you still plan to move here? I asked. Yes, I had to. Even if you don't accept me. This position needs to be filled. But I want to be with you, she promised. I decided to tease her. How can I be sure? Will there not be similar incidents in the future? Just then, her father interjected. Despite the situation, he maintained his composure and. Listen, son, he said. You won't know if you can trust her until you try. However, the decision is entirely up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to do, because you will have to live with it. But I hope you can forgive her and settle. And then Clara held out her hand to me. But I backed out of that. Is this the hand you used to please that man? When was the last time you used it on him? She burst into tears and her father gave me a sympathetic look and, that's a little harsh, man, but I get what you're saying. She pulled herself together. Clara stood up and said to me, just once. I never saw him outside of work again. When she finished, she hurried toward the kitchen and, followed by her parents and me, she turned on the cold water hose and, reaching under the sink and pulling out a bottle of bleach, then poured over the front and back of her right hand. After waiting 5 seconds, she was rinsing under running water. Turn around. She raised her hand and announced to me, now completely pure, that there's no trace left. If you accept me, this hand will only touch you. I recognize in my heart that it's not a bad show. And I have come to believe her. I got a towel. Hand it to her and tell her to dry her hands. I'm not saying I've forgiven you. But you better be here next weekend. That way we can start looking for an apartment. I wish I could make it up to you by moving in here with you. But I understand how you feel. Despite the bleach show, I've decided to forgive her. Even though she may have seriously hurt herself. I'm not going to make it easy for her. She did come the following weekend, however. But we didn't look at the apartment. Instead, they spend too much time in bed and feel exhausted. I went to her place the next weekend. I wanted to test something, so we went to that bar. A couple of her coworkers were there but nothing was mentioned. I'm staying alert. But there's no secret eye contact. Or whispering behind their hands. Looks like everyone kept their promises. We're not looking for an apartment. Instead, she moved in with me. She put the engagement ring back on her finger and we chose a fall wedding instead of spring. Things are going well. We're used to a comfortable married life. We visit our parents, we take vacations together. Eventually we decided it was time to have kids. Lest our parents become too old to enjoy them fully. Or help us babysit. She stopped taking the pill. We're as close as rabbits. Tried every position imaginable. However, after 6 months without success, we sought help from the clinic under the wet test. Unfortunately, everything is fine. The clinic advised us that due to the pressure of trying to work commitments and other factors, conception may take time. They advised us not to get too attached to it. Let nature take its course. So we did. We allow things to unfold naturally. We were both busy with work during that time. She's busy with the audit. We're finishing up an overhaul of an airplane for a client. Despite delays due to supply issues, I'm working overtime to make up for the delay. To the extent permitted by law. Between jobs, I have little time for anything else, including intimacy. This busy schedule for us. It's typical for this time of year. But things take a turn for the worse when Claire's father has a heart attack. On my day off, I went over to help. I'm hoping that once things stabilize in a few weeks, we can re-establish a romantic relationship. However, everything changed when the razor blades were replaced. Usually, I don't know how to handle old blades properly. I just threw it in the trash. When I press the pedal and the lid lifts up, the old blade slipped out of my hand and missed the dumpster. When I picked it up off the floor, I noticed a small cardboard box end cap. A pregnancy test kit. I was rummaging around in the other garbage. Can't find the rest of the box or the test stick though. After shaving, I went downstairs and found Claire still in the house, sitting at the kitchen table drinking coffee. I put the end cap in front of her. I inquired, "Where's the rest of it?" "Oh, I threw it away," she replied. "Why didn't you tell me?" I was questioning. "Negative again. I don't want to upset you," she explained. And then my big question. Why you should take a pregnancy test. We've only been intimate twice this month. How could you possibly be pregnant? Her answer caught her off guard and she stammered and coughed. And then make hasty excuses to leave. Claimed she was late for work, even though she wasn't. I'm starting to get worried. Is this similar to what happened with Dean? And it's being upgraded? As I reflect, I look for changes in Claire's appearance, demeanor, or behavior. But with our busy schedules and her father's illness, consumes most of our attention, I couldn't discern any significant signs of. But I decided to pay more attention moving forward. Claire arrived that night to apologize, recognizing miscommunication. She didn't consider my point of view. She took a pregnancy test, hoping for a positive outcome after previous attempts, but disappointed when they don't materialize. She hesitated to share this disappointment with me. She proposed a weekend getaway for just the two of us. Suggests a cozy cottage for a vacation that. She promises to wear garter belts and 6-inch heels. And any other lingerie I want. I agreed, but reminded her of her upcoming period that. She thanked me, realizing that her negligence. And rescheduled a weekend trip. Over the next week. To avoid any discomfort. It occurred to me that if her period was imminent, why did she take a pregnancy test? This seems unusual. This is because women usually remember their menstrual cycles. Even though her period was on schedule, I began to notice other peculiarities that, like the tampons she keeps openly, it was not in keeping with her usual caution. Despite these observations, we had a great weekend getaway. Claire kept her word and spent the day dressed seductively. I thoroughly enjoyed the experience. I'm looking for signs. But still nothing of note. There was no change in behavior or dress. Maybe now that her period's over, there will be more intimate behavior. But it could also be, since our recent discussion of lack of intimacy. She didn't go out with her friends or work late, but I remain vigilant. Things seem to be back to normal. But I stay alert. Once a month, her coworkers would get together for drinks after work on Fridays. It won't be too late. Just a few pints at the local Weatherspoons pub. Usually the time it takes me to finish my work. About the same time she wanted to go home. After a drink or two. So I'll stop by and pick her up. However, on this particular Friday I finished work early and that means I'll be there earlier than usual. I tried calling her, but she didn't answer. Most likely because of the noise in the bar. I'm here. Seeing her coworkers seated around a table, Claire is not among them, nor is her boss, Jeremy. I asked from the ladies at the table Claire's whereabouts. Learned she was in the restroom. When I asked Jeremy, who usually attends these parties, I was told he was out smoking e-cigarettes. One of the ladies, Sarah, immediately started texting. Claire came back from outside a short time later. Not from the restroom. Shortly after Jeremy entered through the front door. The smoking area can be accessed from the front door. When Claire kissed me, I smelled a hint of scented smoke that. Confirmation that she was not in the restroom. Not willing to put up with this, I said out loud to everyone that. If I catch you cheating on me, I'll divorce you. You'll have nothing. I warned you. And then turned to Jeremy. And the people involved. They'll rue the day they were born. When I finished I turned to leave. But Claire stopped me before I could take a step. I gave in and faced her. Anticipate an interesting exchange. Don't embarrass me in front of my coworkers. She pleads, and then don't let your friends lie to me. They told me you were in the bathroom. but you're actually out there with Dean smoking e-cigarettes. I can smell it on you. I doubt it. That pregnancy test was to make sure he didn't get you pregnant. So the embarrassment you face is well deserved, I said firmly. Gazing at the table, they realized the truth that Sarah avoided eye contact. I walked away and Claire rushed up and took my arm. I'm sorry, honey. Nothing happened. Please believe me. She pleaded. Didn't seem to realize I'd mentioned a Dean. Not Jeremy. Okay. That turned out to be a useless reminder. It's only used as an insult. As we were leaving the bar, I expressed to her. I've trusted you and forgiven you before. But I won't do it again. It was a cold ride home. She's been trying to make amends all weekend. I'm keeping a close eye on her cell phone. But nothing looks suspicious. If she's related to Jeremy, they're keeping it very discreet. I decided to check out her company's website. There I found out about their strict policy of opposed to the development of personal relationships among coworkers, especially superiors and their subordinates. Even those who know about this relationship. This is new to me, but it makes me more cautious. If they're still related, they realize the consequences now and may anticipate my surveillance. I have to be careful. Nonetheless, I didn't observe anything out of the ordinary. I did some research on him and he's married with 2 kids. His wife looks rather ordinary. A little overweight. I haven't seen her before, but I'm sure she has a great personality. I may need to find some time to introduce myself. Then there was news of a 3-day training course in Telford, that's where her company is headquartered. I inquired as to who would be attending. Turns out it was her and a coworker, Kelly. I asked Jeremy if he was going. No, he attended last year. Despite my suspicions. Even when searching online, and asking discreet questions, there is no evidence that he accompanied her. She was ready to leave on Sunday afternoon. She mentioned that Kelly would be picking her up. When Kelly's car pulled up to the front door, I snuck my cell phone in my shirt pocket and camera facing out. Recorded video. I'm helping Claire with her suitcase. Asked Kelly if I can put it in my suitcase. She seemed flustered, but unlocked it. There are no other suitcases in the luggage. The back seat is empty. Claire got in the car. I knelt down and whispered into her ear. If you betray me, I'll find out. You and he will suffer the consequences. So be warned. Kelly's reaction is telling. She was visibly embarrassed and, looking down at his knees, he blushed. I turned to Kelly and commented. Doesn't look like you packed much, does it? I forgot to take them. We're going back to my house to get it now. She replied, avoiding eye contact. The rest of the evening, I'm all about preparing for the worst. I've contacted their main office before. Ask about hotel reservations they have made. I told them I wanted to surprise my wife. Send some flowers for our anniversary. They revealed to me the location of the hotel that. However, Claire mentioned she didn't know about the hotel. Because Kelly was driving. It makes me wonder. I snuck past Claire's office on Monday. Kelly's car is parked in the parking lot. Claire was sitting at her table. Not in Telford, as she claimed. I snapped a picture of her with my cell phone camera that, while not of the highest quality, but it's undoubtedly her. I made sure I didn't reveal my presence. Having taken 3 days vacation, packed my bags and consulted a lawyer. I'm ready. I decided to call Jeremy's wife, Heather, just confirming his whereabouts. Pretend to be from their company. I explained that I couldn't find him in my office. Heather told me he was attending a course in Telford. I met Heather by chance a couple weeks ago. Our meeting was fortuitous, because she was picking up her kids from school. despite her friendly demeanor. She doesn't seem to be very attentive. She hadn't noticed. I don't have kids to pick up. I mention my wife freely. Working in the same office as her husband. This turned out to be a surprising coincidence. During our conversation, I mentioned an upcoming class that just found out that Jeremy, Heather's husband, coincidentally planned to go out at the same time. It makes me wonder. For the head and deputy head of a department, also absent, unless some arrangements have been made. Actually, I didn't meet Heather by chance. I made a special effort to see her. She seems like a nice woman, despite the unassuming appearance. I noticed that her kids went to an expensive private schools. Given Jeremy's income, this seems unlikely. Her clothes indicate wealth. Using the Aston Martin DBX. It is unusual for an SUV to pick up your child from school. I checked into the hotel, sat in the lobby, and wearing something completely different from my usual style, including a baseball cap. I don't usually like wearing hats indoors. That's what Claire knows. On Monday evenings, at the end of the day's program, I observed their arrival. About 20 people attended the dinner, scattered among 4 tables. Jeremy and Claire are obviously not sitting together. Throughout the evening as I observed their interactions, noting that they deliberately avoided the company of each other. This behavior was unexpected. Considering the workplace they share, one might expect at least some interaction. Their avoidance seems to be intentional, indicates that they wish to keep their distance. I'm thinking cautiously. Will they meet in a private room? I noticed the limited layout of the hotel. 3 floors. At about 9:15, Jeremy left, prompting me to follow cautiously. After ascending the elevator next to the stairs, I found him entering the room. At the end of the 2nd floor hallway. Come downstairs. Monitoring Claire's departure from the party, I noticed she left about 20 minutes later. Up the stairs again. I found her on the 3rd floor, conveniently located near the elevator. She didn't stay in the room long enough to just head for the elevator. But I have a bad feeling about this. She may choose to take the stairs. I went down the stairs as quietly as I could. It is expected that she will avoid using the elevator. I caught a glimpse of her appearing on the 2nd floor. Move along the corridor. This English text is translated into Chinese as follows. Looks like the same room Jeremy entered. I discreetly followed and confirmed the room number as 214. Now comes the challenging part. I decided to wait an hour. Then knock again, hoping to catch them in the middle of a work discussion around their laptops. No, let's give them 45 minutes, I told myself. I managed to wait 35 minutes. And then finally to the room. My phone's video recording feature is activated. I put it in my shirt pocket. Camera facing out. Make sure there's no shade. I slid the envelope I had prepared under the door. It's wrapped. Then I called room service. There came a grunt that sounded like no room service. Later, all I heard was a panicked curse. When he found pictures of him kissing and fondling my wife. I have no hard evidence. That's a photoshopped picture. It depicts Claire kissing Dean. Jeremy's face was roughly superimposed on Dean's face. It was poorly done, though. Next to an unsigned divorce petition to Claire. The door slammed open, revealing Jeremy wrapped in nothing but a towel. Seeing his lover's husband standing there, he swung at me and grazed my left cheek. It was weak. In comparison, my blows were powerful. Anger drove me, and I punched him hard in the nose. Get him on the ground. Blood spatter. I ignored him and walked toward my wife, who was still in bed. She clutched the sheets. Handed her an envelope with a signed divorce petition. I said, "Don't go home." I changed the locks. Your personal belongings are at your parents' house. They're upset with you. The truth is they don't know. But they will soon realize. Their discontent will continue. I turned around and walked away. I went back to my room, packed my bag, and looked in the mirror. I have a visible bruise over my left eye. Surprisingly, it seems to fit my program well. I walked through the bar, passing by the front desk. I noticed a man who looked managerial. I asked him about it. "Do you know Jeremy?" "Yes, I do." "Why do you ask?" He answered. Nonverbal grunt as interjection. "Looks like Jeremy and Claire might be late tomorrow. Or maybe not at all. There seems to be a disagreement between them." I explained. He took a curious look at my bruised eye. "Differences between Claire and Jeremy?" "No, it's between Jeremy and Claire's husband. By the way, that's what I clarified. That man looks incredible. I find that hard to believe. Surely they can't be that stupid." I took out my cell phone. Showed him the video clip of Jeremy opening the door, wrapped in a towel. Hit me, then his nose was crushed. And Claire in his bed. I also managed to capture the room number on video. He talked to himself for a while. Then reach into your pocket. Take out a business card. "Please send a copy of that to this address. Can I have your phone number? So I can call you in the morning." That's pretty serious. He handed me another card. "Tell me to write my number on the back." The atmosphere in the bar behind him. It's getting noticeably quieter. I expect the next morning's program will. It's quite important. Leaving the bar, I headed to the front desk. Checkout procedures. Unusual incident at 10:30 p.m. The receptionist asked me if everything was okay. I can't answer that. Explain that I found my wife in her boss's bed. He attacked me. When I say that. Deliberately glancing at the security cameras. I drove home in one breath. Seething with anger. This is for myself, her, and Jeremy. I tried to stop at the rest area to take a nap. But sleep eludes me, so I keep driving. Even though I haven't changed the locks. I have a locksmith on call. I texted him to prioritize me. By the time I got home, it was light. I've taken her clothes. Packed carefully into black garbage bags. Hopefully, we'll get them open before she gets back. These bags went in the back of my car. Track Claire's cell phone. I found her halfway down the M5. Which means that due to traffic, it'll be a couple hours before she gets there. I briefly considered Jeremy's whereabouts. But soon gave up. I don't care anymore. At first I considered taking her clothes to her parents' house. But considering her father's recent heart attack, I didn't want to risk making him more nervous. Instead, I drove to Claire's office, planning on leaving them outside. But it turns out there's a janitor in there. I put the bag on the floor next to her desk. Fodder for office gossip. Once the employee arrives. Come home. I didn't see the locksmith coming. 1 or 2 more days. So I enter, turn the key in the lock. Stop Claire from using her. Effectively locking her out. Exhausted, I managed to sleep for a few hours. Abrupt. I was awakened by loud knocking and shouting at the front door. It's Claire, looking disheveled. See me. She pleaded, "Darling, please, this is a mistake. One-off thing." He promised me he'd promote me before he left. He'll recommend me for his job. I did it for us. Her words are full of deception. It's obvious even through the door. Nonsense. I'll answer. The reason doesn't matter. What matters is that you betrayed my trust. Please let me explain. How do you explain the careful planning? Coordination with Kelly. Arranging for Jeremy to rejoin the program. Sneaking around the hotel. It's all premeditated. What else do you have planned? How long has this been going on? What else is Kelly covering up for you? We have to plan to avoid getting caught. And it's really only once. I swear I don't believe you. How long have you and Jeremy been sleeping together? Actually, it doesn't matter. Once is enough. I chained the door and opened it. Although she interpreted it as an invitation. It's our only option. Talk without raising your voice. So I'm assuming. Everyone in the office knows about your affair. Kelly and Sarah. Maybe everyone else knows about it too. Once again, she avoided answering the question. Honey, please let me explain. Much higher salaries for managerial positions. It will provide a better life for us and the baby. Well, explain this. Why you take a pregnancy test a few days before your period? Considering we only had sex twice that month. In our busy schedules. You're checking to see if Jeremy got you pregnant. There was no shock or confusion on her face. There was only one downward glance that meant something. I'll continue. I don't need an explanation. I just need you out of my life. You've betrayed me twice. I won't be stupid enough to put up with it. Sign the divorce papers. Let's end this. Her defeat was obvious. I need some clothes. Can I come and get it? I left them in your office. The janitor was kind enough to let me in. I regretfully closed the door in front of her. And sympathize with her parents. And it's still fresh in my mind. I'm sitting at my computer. A detailed letter was drafted. Recalling my suspicions at the bar. Kylie is involved in deception. In the discovery of Jeremy and Claire. Be in an awkward position. I've attached photos, videos, and recently recorded audio from my front door. I also forwarded a copy to my divorce attorney. Expect Claire to wage a legal battle. Claire initially contested the charges. But when her lawyer presented the evidence, maybe it's her parents' influence, she finally gave in. Then she was fired. Kelly, for her involvement in the Telford trip, faced similar results. It caused problems in her marriage. When her husband learned that, the reason for her dismissal, Sarah received a formal reprimand and warning. And the rest of the office, informal warning received. The annual bonus has been canceled, leading to awkward conversations in many homes. Besides, Sarah's boyfriend ended their relationship. Unexpected confrontation from Jeremy. Heather's divorced him. He questioned the divorce. Claims Claire wrongly accused him of misconduct. To make sure he's fired. And take his place. His strategy was to reconcile with Heather. Challenge him to get fired from the company. The case went to court. It's a rarity in modern times. I'm a witness, recounting what I saw. Jeremy's wife's attorney showing Jeremy and Claire together. Jeremy's lawyers are trying to get it thrown out, citing privacy concerns. Because it was taken on private property. Yet its relevance to divorce is clear. Because Heather's already seen it. And then it hit me. If the video evidence is rebuttable, Jeremy could sue the company for wrongful termination. Judges don't buy it. My status as an amateur videographer. And the environment in which it is used. To collect evidence of an extramarital affair. Is the decisive factor. Location is not private property. Most of the shots. It was taken from outside the room. Especially when Jeremy attacked me. Claire testified on Heather's behalf. She admitted that Jeremy abused her. Convincing her that sleeping with him would ensure her his job, only to find out later that the company's plan to replace him with her. In any event, the court proceedings are in. It started after Heather's divorce was finalized. Claire caught up with me after the hearing. I'm begging for a chance to talk. I looked at her. Despite the trials and tribulations of divorce, it was evident in the slight weight loss on her face. She's still beautiful to me. Well, I say, After all this, I do need some coffee, I said as I walked toward the door. She caught up with me quickly. Put her arm in mine. It feels cozy and reminiscent of old times. After we find a table, she ordered coffee for herself and tea for me. And a couple of cookies. When she sat down face to face, she reached out and took my hand. I allowed it. Tears welled up in her eyes as she spoke. Honey, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done what I did. There were hints at HQ that I might get Jeremy's post. But it's still uncertain. I panicked. I thought they'd changed their minds. So I took action. I believe this is for our future safety. You're not wrong. Frankly, he's not very competent. She stopped to take a sip of coffee. Can we try again? I'll do anything. Even if you're with another woman. I'll do whatever it takes to win you back. I love you very much. Allow me to make amends. Please give me another chance. Tears streamed down her face. She held my hand tightly. Causes discomfort. So let me get this right. You're doing it for a job that's already yours. You were close to him at work. He probably got more attention than I did. You didn't take precautions. So you could end up with his child. It shows how little you value me. And our marriage. Just like you did with Dean. You only care about yourself. You probably completely forgot about me. You asked a coworker for help. Arranging a little trip to Telford for you and your Valentine. By the way, he's not happy in bed. Who knows what else they're covering up for you? Let's not lose sight of the fact. Your behavior led to Kelly. Lost my job. Far. Her marriage wasn't so good either. I suspect her husband only stayed for the kids. Last I heard, Sarah's boyfriend broke up with her. So not only did you destroy our lie, and you're dragging other people down with you. I took a sip of tea. It tastes terrible. I'll give you one more chance. I haven't forgotten about you and Dean. So I should give you a third chance. What do you think? I'll stand up. Grab a Belgian chocolate chip cookie. Leave the room. I could hear the crying, but I didn't turn around. I have nothing but contempt for that woman. A few months later, I ran into Claire's parents at the supermarket. Her father looks much better. They told me. Claire, after receiving a job offer there, moved to the South Coast. They didn't reveal the specifics of her new job. Or whereabouts. Probably sensing my lack of interest in details. We said goodbye to each other. When they leave, Claire's mother turned to me and told me she had a miscarriage due to stress. I haven't seen him since you found out. She paused, then said she really cared about you. Though tempted to respond sarcastically, I refrained from. I don't want to cause these people any more pain. They've had enough. I can't help but wonder if the baby is mine. Or Jeremy's. There's a rumor. Heather's brothers visited Jeremy. He had trouble walking for months. I'm staying aloof. As for myself, I just keep trying to live my best life. Thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to today's story. If you like, please consider liking and subscribing. If not already, please feel free to share your thoughts on the events in the comments below. Take care of oneself.